Hi everyone, I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there today. I have a meeting at central office. So what's going to happen today is you're going to watch this video with some notes. You're going to fill them in. And then there's a short assignment for you to do after. It will be due tomorrow, so I need you to have it completed before you come in the door tomorrow. Tomorrow we will go over it. And then we're going to do day 2 of these notes. I'll answer questions and then we are going to move on. So I need to make sure that you are paying attention through this video because we're going to use this knowledge tomorrow as well. So we've been doing inequalities. And so today we're going to do compound inequalities. And if you look at this, you can see that we have 2 inequalities together. We have x minus 5 is less than negative 3, and we have x divided by 2 is greater than negative 1. So we are going to solve 2 inequalities for each problem. So we have x minus 5 is less than negative 3. So this is our first one that we're going to solve. We need to get the x by itself. So we have to get rid of this minus 5. And so the opposite is plus 5. The 5's cancel. We bring down the x. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2. So the first half of this is x is less than 2. So we'll move on and we're going to solve the second one. So we have x over 2 is greater than negative 1. So again, our goal is always to get the letter by itself. So we need to get the x by itself. So right now we have x divided by 2. That's what the fraction bar means, is division. So x divided by 2, we're going to do the opposite and multiply by 2. Those 2's cancel. And we have x is greater than negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. So we have x is greater than negative 2. So let's start with this one. We're going to graph this now. So we've solved both halves. Now we're going to graph. At positive 2, we're going to have an open circle because there's no line underneath. And at negative 2, we're going to have an open circle because there's not a line underneath. So now what we're going to do is we're going to draw our line. So at positive 2 here, our arrow is going to the left. So we're going to go this way. And then at our negative 2, our arrow is pointing to the right. So we go that way. Do you see how they overlapped in the middle? Anytime you have an and means overlap. All right, whenever you have an and, when you graph it, your arrows should overlap each other. All right, let's look at number 2. So we're going to solve each problem again. So we have negative 4 plus x is less than or equal to 4. And so our goal is to get x by itself. So we have to get rid of this negative 4. So we add 4 to both sides. The 4's cancel. We bring down the x and the less than or equal to 4 plus 4 is 8. So x is less than or equal to 8. So we solved the first half of this problem. Now we have to solve the other half of this problem. And so the other half is x divided by 7 is greater than 0. So our goal is always to get x by itself. Right now it's x divided by 7, so we have to do the opposite. We're going to multiply both sides by 7. So the 7's cancel out. We have x is greater than 0 times 7 is still 0. So x is greater than 0 is our final answer for that half. Now we have solved both halves. So we are going to graph it on the number line. So at 8, we're going to put a closed circle because there's a line underneath. At 0, we're going to have an open circle because there is no line underneath. At 8, our arrow is pointing to the left. So we're going to draw our arrow to the left. And at 0, our arrow is pointing to the right. So we go to the right. Do you see how it was an and the arrows overlap? And arrows overlap. So if you ever have an and your arrows are not overlapping, you made a mistake somewhere and we need to check it out. So this is half of what we're learning today is ands. So you have your two separate equations. All right, you write them separately, solve them, and then graph them both. If it has an and, your arrows should overlap in the middle. So that's the first half of what we're learning today. The second half of what we're learning today is if you look, these both say or. So it's going to be a little bit different than the and, but not much. We are still going to solve them each by themselves. So we have 5 plus n is less than 0. And so we're going to solve this. We want to get our letter by itself. So we need to get our n by itself. So this is a positive 5. So we're going to subtract 5. The 5's cancel. We bring down our n and our inequality symbol. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So that's the first half. N is less than negative 5. Now we have 8n is greater than or equal to 64. So 8n is greater than or equal to 64. We need to get the n by itself. Right now the 8 and the n are being multiplied together. And so to break them apart, we have to do the opposite. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 8. The 8's cancel. We bring down our n and the inequality symbol. 64 divided by 8 is 8. So we have n is greater than or equal to 8. So what we're going to do now is we're going to graph these. At negative 5, we're going to put an open circle because there's no line underneath. Now negative 5, these count by 2, so it's not really on here. We're just going to go in the middle of negative 6 and negative 4 because that's where negative 5 would be, and we have an open circle. And this one is going to the left, so we're going to draw our arrow to the left. Now at 8, we're going to have a closed circle because there's a line underneath. So at 8, we draw our closed circle. And this arrow is pointing to the right, so we draw our arrow to the right. So if you notice, whenever you have an or means away. All right, whenever you see an or here, your arrows are going to go away from each other. Let's look at number 4. So we're going to solve these. We have negative 9k is greater than 36. So our goal is to get the k by itself. Right now the negative 9 and the k are being multiplied, so we have to do the opposite. And the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 9. So k, 36 divided by negative 9 is negative 4. But we divided both sides by a negative. And when you do that, you have to flip your inequality symbol. So instead of it opening this way, It's going to open that way. And so we have k is less than -4 is our answer for the first half. Now we're going to solve the second half. K minus 1 is greater than -1. We need to get our k by itself, so we have to get rid of this -1. So we have to do the opposite of -1, which is add 1. So -1 plus 1 makes 0. So we have k is greater than -1 plus 1 makes 0. So we have k is greater than 0. So we've solved both halves. Remember, when you divide both sides by a negative, you have to flip your inequality symbol. So now we're going to graph them. So at -4, we're going to have an open circle because there's no line underneath. And this arrow points to the left. So we're going to do our arrow to the left. We're going to have an open circle at 0 because there's no line underneath. And it is going to go to the right because that's the way the arrow is going. Our arrows are going away, and it's an or. So or arrows away. All right, so whenever you see an or and you graph it, your arrows should be going the opposite ways. If not, you made a mistake. And if you have an and you graph it, your arrows should overlap. If they do not, you made a mistake. If you have any questions, please send me a Schoology message and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I need you to try your best on this assignment, and then I will answer questions and help some tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful day.